Welcome back, everyone, to the Hot Mess Medium show. I am super excited because I have a special guest on with us today, Miss Jenny, or not Jenny, oh my God, Ginny, my goodness, butchered it already.
You,
Ginny.
you know what, Natasha? I'm in the South, and in the South, it is all pronounced the same.
Oh,
Everybody
really?
says Jenny. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
That's all
I had
good.
a moment where I was like, I bet you she gets that literally all the time.
All the
Um,
time.
yeah, people have no idea how to you put an I in Natasha and no one
And
has
they're
any
like, wait,
idea what to
what?
do with it.
I
Yeah,
think people don't even see the I because your brain just reads the word.
it's so true. So
Yeah.
true. You wouldn't believe even like government documents will sometimes miss the
Oh,
I in my name. I'm not even kidding. Yeah.
I believe it. So my legal name is Virginia. And
Oh,
Ginny is short for Virginia. So you would be surprised. So in the US, Virginia is a state. You
right.
go through elementary school learning the states and writing them, and you wouldn't believe how many people cannot spell Virginia.
Actually, wow. I would not have thought that.
It's wild. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I never go by Virginia unless it's like something formal, like or at the doctor's office or something. So when I write it, I'm spelling it in my head too.
I love that. I love that so
These
much.
long names. Yeah.
I know. Well, Ginny, I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah. Right before we hit record, we were talking about this and how introducing yourself is fun, but also the hardest part. Where do I
Yes.
start? So, I'm actually fairly new to doing mediumship professionally, but I've been a hypnotherapist and a coach for the last 4 years and did not expect mediumship to come into my sphere of things that I'm known for publicly, or that I offer as a service. So it's been a wild ride and a fun ride to get to this point.
And I can't wait to hear about that. Like I
Yeah.
can't like I cannot wait to get into that. I call it the origin story of the medium. I love
Yeah.
hearing how that all kind of took place. So yeah, actually, why don't you get into that now? I would love to know.
Yeah. So I'm sure you get this question a lot also. The first question I always get is, did you have this ability as a child? Or how long have you had this ability? And I did have this ability as a child, but I grew up in a super conservative Christian household where it just got shut down. I was told that it was my imagination, that I have vivid memories of my great grandmother being in my bedroom at night and just chatting with her in spirit. She passed before I was born. But I remember her being in my bedroom, and I remember my dad coming in to check on me. This happened more than once, and saying, like, so I was like, 5 or 6, who are you talking to? And I remember saying, I'm talking to Granny. And I was told, and of course it was all well intentioned, you can't talk to Granny, she's with Jesus. But I knew I
Wow.
could talk to Jesus. So Jesus and I played this little game of telephone where I would say, hey, Jesus, can you tell Granny she's sitting right there? Whatever I wanted to say to her. So kids are super intuitive and super creative. And I don't want to knock the way I was raised at all because there are elements of that are serving me super well, especially when it comes to boundaries and being able to turn turn the spirit sensitivity on and off.
Yeah.
That's super important because we're here to have a human experience also. So
Yes.
I had this ability as a child, shut it down, and my mom passed, it'll be
Oh,
11 years ago this summer. And
wow.
she was very spiritual and the granddaughter of a Southern Baptist minister. And yes, so his wife was the one who would come to me in my bedroom as a child. Granny was the wife of a Southern Baptist minister. And so my mom was his granddaughter. She was super spiritual. She went to great extremes after she passed to get my attention from the spirit world. I've felt her touch me. I've been hit in the face with smells that remind me of her. And it took me a while to really be open to that. So that was a process. And also, there's been a whole process of going from this is crazy, don't tell anyone, to, oh yeah, I hear dead people, it's okay.
Oh,
It's
wow. I
been a
love
whole
that.
decade-long journey.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, okay, so you're a hypnotherapist and a
Mhm.
coach, and then all of a sudden mediumship chimes in
Yeah,
and takes
mediumship
over.
comes in. So let's rewind back um, to 2020.
Okay.
It was actually the end of 2019. I was a writer in the corporate world, and I have several books on Amazon.
What the heck?
One of them was an Amazon bestseller. It's called Making Spirit-Led Decisions. And it's about using your intuition in a relationship. If you're in that situation, that should I stay or should I go? It's about how to take the information you have and use your intuition to get your answer. So
Amazing.
that's up on Amazon. So I had this stuff kind of going in the background, and I had been through a grief recovery method certification, which I was exposed to when my mom passed. And the summer that my mom passed, we can come back to this, but the summer my mom passed, I was also going through a terrible divorce. And so there was a lot of change and a lot of grief happening at that time. And I knew that I wasn't necessarily going to do anything professionally with that certification. But as I was going through, part of the process is creating this timeline of losses, which sounds depressing, but really it's acknowledging grief that comes up along the way. And I was simultaneously taking some side gigs, ghostwriting for people, and found that I was really coaching them through telling their story, and thought I need to look into coaching, and using my intuition was a big part of my writing process. So I found an intuitive coaching certification, which was not at all what I expected. It was really about coaching people to connect with their intuition and not about like coaching clients intuitively, because I was going to coach storytelling. And it's funny how the spirit world uses these ideas as ways to crack the door open. And once
Right.
you get that door open, it might be something totally different than what you expected. So I'm going down this rabbit hole of intuition and coaching and recognizing my story and being able to use my story as a way to relate to other people. Well, this all got me interested in like what's happening in the brain when all of this is going on, which ultimately led me to hypnotherapy. I was not planning on, getting trained as a hypnotherapist or doing that as a profession, but I absolutely fell in love with it and started watching people just the type of hypnotherapy I'm trained in is called rapid transformational therapy. And it's like
Ooh, I've heard of that.
yes, it's amazing. It's like cognitive behavioral therapy, but in hypnosis. So all of the things that come up when you're in talk therapy, when you're in hypnosis, you have access to subconscious memories. So rather than session after session of uncovering these things, your subconscious is just like, here it is. Here's the
Oh,
thing. Here's
wow.
the root cause of the problem. And you're able to rewire it in your brain in one session. There are some things that take more than one session, but most often it's one session. Um, so all of this is going on, and I'm watching things start to shift, and this becomes a part-time business while I'm in the coaching or while I'm in the corporate world, still writing. And meanwhile, I'm still so this all was spirit led. My mom had a big hand in it. And my grandmother passed 2 weeks after my mom did, her
Wow.
mother. Yeah, so my mom would connect with me most often, and it was usually out of the blue. I didn't have a whole lot of control over it because I didn't know how. And my grandmother, and then when my grandfather passed, right before he passed, I asked him, I confessed. I was like, hey, I connect. Like mom and grandmama come and visit me. And it was an amazing conversation, not the response I expected to get from him. But I asked him, I was like, what do I have to lose? He's about to transition. And I asked him if he would come visit me when he passed. And he got this big smile on his face and said, I believe I will. So, and I
Ooh.
did. I heard from him and still do all the time. A lot of times when I'm giving readings, he'll sit in a chair that was in his house across from me. And so I had my people that I was connected to who were coming to me and giving me messages. Well, I was putting on my makeup one day, like, in the mirror, getting mouth open, getting mascara on, and I heard a voice, and it wasn't one that I recognized. And I just kind of, brushed it off. Like, I don't know who this is. I'm going to continue on with my day. No big deal. And I heard it again, and he threw in a inside joke that only me and his son would know, which immediately told me who this was. And he wanted me to give a message to his wife. And I said, I can't do that. They're going to think I'm crazy. Nobody knows that I'm connecting with my people and the spirit realm in general. Like I'm not going to out myself to deliver your message. And I was mindlessly scrolling, standing in line at the grocery store later that day and saw that it was his birthday. And I still did not have the guts to deliver the message to his wife. And I lived with so much regret for about a year, um, that I decided I've got to find a mentor. And once I found a mentor, things just exploded. And I was on the fast track. And a year from making that decision that I have to find a mentor, literally 1 year later, God was like, by the way, you're going to be doing this for other people. Like, just shoved me off the cliff, booted me out the door, learn to fly on your way down. And it's been amazing because it's not it's not anything that we do. What we do, and you and I did this right before we hit record, we just get clear and make sure that we are out of the way and we are a
Mhm.
clear channel for spirit.
Absolutely.
That was a mouthful. Sorry, I hope that story made sense. I feel like I was a little all over the place.
Oh, it absolutely made sense. And I love listening to you. You're a really great storyteller. And I love, yeah, I just love all the synchronicities and the connections
Yeah.
and also sharing about how like you had that experience and and then vulnerably sharing, about the guilt that you and regret that you had after that.
Yeah.
I'm currently dealing with that right now.
Yeah.
So on Sunday, like me and my friend and my daughter and her friend went out for her birthday. And usually my boundaries are super great. Like
Yeah.
when I'm out living my life and people are out living their life, I'm not getting bombarded with spirit, right?
Right.
Like that's the importance of having boundaries with this type of work. Um, and but this time was different. So I was in the theater and it was so weird because we like pre-bought our tickets
Mm-hmm.
and we see this woman and her two kids going in the same spot. And like there was a snowstorm outside, so it was like barely anyone else in the theater. What are the odds we both purchased seat 12? I was like, that's super strange, but like we all just decided to sit beside each other because,
Yeah. Why not?
why not, whatever. And anyways, towards the end of the movie, we were watching Mufasa, by the way. Towards the end of the movie, I start getting that feeling, that
Yeah.
feeling when spirit starts to
Mm-hmm.
come in, your vibration raises, and you could just feel something else in your energy field. And so I was like, this is so weird. And I could feel it in my stomach. I felt sick to my stomach. And I could see images in my head. Oh, first of all, I was like, okay, is this mine or someone else's? Like, what is
Yes.
this? Right. So I took a moment. I was like, okay, no, there's definitely someone here trying to come in. And so I'm just, sorry, my mind's going blank. Oh, yeah. So then I start seeing images in my mind of this older gentleman, and he feels like a father figure right away.
Mm-hmm.
And he's showing me how sick he was before he passed. And I was getting a lot of other information too. And I was like, okay, well, like, who is this even for? Like, what is going on here? For this to come through so strong, like it's
Yeah.
gotta mean something. And then after the movie, I could still feel him around. And I'm talking to my friend who's not a medium, by the way. And she's like, did you smell the vomit? And I was like,
No
are you,
way.
oh, I have chills everywhere. She's like, I literally took my flashlight out because I could not stop smelling vomit. And she's like looking around for it, thinking like, well, maybe someone's kids like
Yeah.
that or whatever. And I was like, no, I did not smell that at all. But, and then I told her what I was feeling, and she got chills everywhere. And she's just like, what the heck? And she's like, it has to be for the woman who
Yeah.
was sitting next to me, right? Because
Yeah.
she was the one sitting next to her. So I'm so cold right now. When you get goosebumps on top of goosebumps. So, anyways, I was like, that is wild. And then the woman ended up like sticking around because I wanted the kids to like play at the arcade area of the theater. And so did the woman and her two kids. And everything in my body was like, go and tell her this is for her. But the human in me really got in the way. And also the mentor in me got in the way.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, there's a snowstorm outside. She's got two kids. I just would hate to put her in this like emotional,
Yeah.
vulnerable position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out in public with her kids. And like I'm imagining, I'm an overthinker, obviously, but like
Yeah.
I'm imagining the worst. Like she's driving and like snowstorm, and like I was like, no, I can't be responsible for anything bad happening because it felt deep and it wasn't like a lighthearted thing.
Yeah.
It felt heavy. And so
Yeah.
in that moment, I had to make a decision. As much as I really wanted to pull a Teresa Caputo, whatever, um,
Yeah.
I didn't. And so I actually just put a post out there because I couldn't let it go. Could not let it go. I put a post out there kind of describing the situation. Like, if this is you, like reach out to me so I can connect. And that
Yeah.
way, if she sees it and is not interested, she doesn't have to, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, just thought I would share, but it was crazy how as soon as she left, left, I felt so much relief. Like, so that was my
Yeah.
confirmation
I
that,
know.
okay, it was for her. But yeah, it's been really bothering me.
Yeah.
But at the same
And
time, I had to like trust my gut, sort of, at
yeah,
that moment.
yeah. And it's really, we get put in these sticky situations because it's a question of ethics. Like
Yes.
you were going through your mind of all these possible outcomes, and there's got to be a middle ground, you
I
know?
know.
Um, I I also have a friend who we walk a lot, and she will physically she's a medium but hasn't pursued development, and I don't know that she will, but she's super spiritually connected and will occasionally get messages for people, and she will feel physically ill if she doesn't deliver the message.
Oh,
And yeah, and so it's kind of this, I mean, is it really ethical to approach a stranger and you don't know what their beliefs are or what their situation is, or maybe she didn't want to hear from her dad. Maybe she wasn't ready for that.
yeah.
Um, so I think it's good, like as a medium, and I'm talking to myself here, it's good to have like kind of a personal policy of like, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do, especially with a stranger. I don't know about you, but for me, it's easier for me to approach a stranger and say something like, hey, I'm a medium and I'm sensing a father figure around you. If here's my card, if you would like to connect over that, I'd be happy to chat. And then the ball is in their court. It's,
Ooh,
you know, um,
I like
but
that.
with people I know, though, it's harder.
Yes.
I mean, now I'm like out in the world as a medium, but especially people from my past, from that conservative Christian community, it's hard for me to say, hey, I'm getting a message for you because I'm projecting what they're going to think about me.
Right. That makes sense.
Hmm.
That makes total sense. And you actually just reminded me, I literally just put some like business cards in my purse. So I should start,
Yay.
like, I mean, I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
going to happen, but if it were, because I would definitely never be like, oh my God, this is what's coming through, and just like bombard something to someone. But I love the
Yeah.
idea of being like, hey, like, here's a card, balls in your court type of thing. That's probably how I
Yeah.
could have handled that situation. But because there was one time, and I've shared this story before, so I won't like get into it, but there was a time like in a restaurant, I like literally bargained with spirit because I didn't want to do it. But it was like
Yeah.
it ended up working out wonderful. And the woman who ended up, like I obviously asked her permission and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and we're still connected, love her so much. But that was like one of those things where it worked out great. I would hate for it
Yeah.
to not work out and to just, I don't know, I felt like I got really lucky that time. But
Yeah.
I also wonder if spirit's going to go out of their way to make that happen when you do have those solid boundaries.
Mhm.
It makes me wonder if that right there is a sign that the person would be open,
Yeah, that
like,
they're
but
ready. Well, I was gonna ask, have you ever had a time that it hasn't worked out?
no, actually.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. It's always worked out. And what I've found, which by the way, this does not make it any easier to do, but looking back at all these circumstances, when I have the hesitation, like I don't want to do this, it's always about me. Because you
Yes.
have no idea how they're actually going to respond. Um, and I'm guilty of still doing this, even with my family, who knows that I'm a medium. They know that I'm offering mediumship readings as a service. But we'll be sitting around the table together and I'll hear my mom say something and I frame it up as like, oh, if mom were here, she would say, instead of just saying, oh, mom says blah, blah, blah. I feel like, I have to package it in a way that's more acceptable when they would just accept it anyway, you know?
Oh, that's so, yeah, exactly. I love that we're having this conversation because, it's making me think about how I'm so afraid of how people are going to like receive me that when, okay, like a few months ago, me and my husband went out for lunch and we saw a friend of mine and her husband, and she invited us to go and sit with them. And we're like, oh, yeah, sure. And then so my friend introduces her husband to me, like, and she's like, this is my psychic friend. I immediately I was like, don't worry, I won't read you. Like, I don't do
Yeah.
that. Like, I'm not just gonna
Yeah.
like read you just so immediately he can like feel comfortable. It's like
Relax.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I've heard it so much that there's people who are afraid that I'm going around reading them, reading their minds,
Yeah.
knowing their secrets, or that I have this like posse of loved ones hanging around me all the time. Like
Yeah.
people think that, and so that's why it's important to have conversations like this because that's not how it works. Um,
Yeah.
so I immediately like if I'm in a room of people who are non-mediums who don't understand, I'll just like full
I can't
disclosure,
read your mind.
yeah, I'm not like I'm a normal person, like I'm a normal human. Um, and I'm not reading anyone, like I'm just here existing. Okay. So
Yeah.
like I don't want
I'm
it's
in
like
human mode.
I don't want anyone to be afraid of me.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I so this was before I I think that I was just about to start the mentorship program. So I had access to the videos. I'd already started the videos. And our mutual mentor, Lindsay, in one of her videos, taught, which this was a huge step for me, talks about letting things come through and not questioning them. And I was really taking that to heart. And a couple of months later, I was at a Silva intuition seminar.
Oh.
And one of the exercises, Silva seminars are amazing, um, because they give you exercises. You do psychometry. It's not about becoming a psychic or becoming a medium. It's about the power of your mind. And you hear the history of all of these methods. And Jose Silva was a radio technician. Like he was not, and he was like doing mind experiments with his kids. Anyway, it comes with some great stories. But the first day, so it's divided into two sections, and I had taken the first 2 days at a previous date. So everybody had been together for 2 days in this group, and I came in on the second 2 days. And the first exercise we did was we partnered up, and my group was the odd group of three. And you set the intention to tune into your partner and get as much information as you can, and you just write down everything that comes through. So in my circle of three, I'm looking at somebody, she's looking at the next person, and then that person is looking at me. So I'm writing down everything that comes through. And then you take turns saying what you picked up. And so this is the first exercise on the first day. And I had been watching these videos, so I decided I'm not going to filter anything. I'm just going to say every single thing that I got. And as I was describing everything that I saw, this woman who is still a friend to this day. We were perfect strangers at the time, but now we're friends. Her mouth, her jaw was getting closer and closer to the floor. And I got done talking, and she was like, "Oh my God, you just remote viewed my life." And everything from like the three boys who like to wear sports jerseys to her morning routine of sitting in a room with lots of windows with her cup of coffee and doing yoga in the morning, like everything. Natasha, for the rest of the weekend, nobody would be my partner because they all thought that I could read their minds.
Because you just read her to filth. You just knew like every aspect of her life.
Yeah, I
Love
knew
that.
her two best friends that were like, it all just came through because I set the intention to not filter anything. Um, but to the average person, it's like, oh, I don't know how that works. And so this is
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you shared that. And I think, oh, there's like so much I want to say about all of this, but like the oh shit, where did it go? Where did it
It'll
go?
come back.
It'll come back. Okay, yeah. Oh, but then now what am I gonna say if that left my brain? Um,
We're talking about reading people's mind or not reading people's minds.
yeah, it's like I could, but I prefer when someone consents to me reading their
Yeah,
mind. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Um, like do you find you're extremely telepathic?
I am. But I have to set an intention
Right.
to,
Same.
I'll get telepathic messages, but and I think this is a common misconception too. The psychic reading is different than the mediumship reading energy.
Yes, absolutely.
And I have more intentions more often to connect with spirit
Hmm.
versus, and that's what I do in my readings too. I don't do psychic readings. I have right on my website. I don't do quote unquote future work. And
Right.
that's a
Like,
whole, we should come back to that about why that is iffy.
yes.
But also it's a different type of connection because you're reading the energy off the person. And let's be real, there are a lot of people I don't want to read their energy. I don't want to get it.
It's so true though. And like, you know, when we're going about our day, living our lives, like we're minding our own business. We have enough
Mhm.
stuff going on in our brains. Like, I don't need to be
Yeah.
doing
I've
that.
got, to your the hot mess medium. I can relate. Like I've got enough mess going on in my own brain. I don't
Absolutely.
need to get in your brain too.
And also, like, what use is that to me? Like, what am I
Yeah,
gonna do with that?
exactly.
Right? So I'm
Exactly.
literally just I'm an ADHD queen. I'm like living my
Mhm.
life. I've got 4 kids. Like, I don't have time for that. So
Yeah.
yeah, unless, and the other thing is it's like when we're about to do a session with someone, again, they're consenting, they're open. There's like this connection taking place and it's supportive and whatever. It's not like, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I
Um,
do. I had
oh,
a funny thing happen in the psychic realm last week, object finding. So
ooh,
that is the one time that I will set the intention to help me or someone else find an object, which is very hard to do, by the way, for everyone listening who is not a psychic or medium.
I
It's
have a
difficult.
trick though, so we're gonna go to that
Okay,
when you're done
let's come
talking
back to that
about this.
trick.
Yes.
So my brother and his family were in town last week and stayed with me for a few days. And my water filter on the refrigerator needs to be changed. And I've got a filter on the tap. So I just use tap water. But my brother was like, "Oh, where are your extra filters? I'll change that for you." They were not where I thought I put them. And I could not find these filters to save my life. So I just kind of gave up. The next day, my sister-in-law loses her wallet. And I'm like, I didn't say anything, just internally, I was like, let me just tap into the wallet and see if I can figure out where it is. And they had been to the store. I knew it wasn't at the store. I kept seeing it in a black bag. And so I said that to her. And her grandmother was a working medium in Brazil and like put all of her grandkids or her kids through college doing mediumship full time. So I can say that stuff to my sister-in-law and it's like normal to her. So I'm
Right.
like, I keep seeing it in a black bag. And she's like, I already looked in my black bag. And a few minutes goes by and I'm like, I really think you should look in your black bag again. And so she pulls out her black bag, everything is not in there. She goes upstairs to where they have all of their belongings. And she comes down a few minutes later and she's like, it was in Paul's black bag. So it was in my brother's black bag. So I can find my sister-in-law's wallet, but I cannot find my refrigerator filters to save my life.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. I have, yeah, so that brings me to like this trick that I've
Yeah, what's
figured
your
out.
trick? I need to
Okay.
know.
Yeah, so I want you to practice this and see what happens. So started, yeah, so having like being a neurodivergent adult
Hmm.
means you forget a lot, but also you misplace things a lot.
Yeah.
And so something I started doing that just came to me was like, okay, like for example, okay, wait, what is something that I was looking for one time? Okay, the remote is an easy one. If I were the remote, where would I be? And
Yeah.
I ask that in my mind or even out loud, and I just take a moment to like connect, like you were saying, connect to the
Hmm.
energy of the object or whatever, and like, and just you're curious about it, right? You're wondering about it. And I'm doing this with my hands. I'm like opening it up because what happens
Yeah.
when you're curious and wondering, right? Same with mediumship. When you're curious and
Yeah.
wondering a
You're
question to spirit, you're creating space for that information to just drop in.
come
So,
in.
anyways, I do that, and then all of a sudden, I let my body just walk and guide me to where this is. So
Oh,
it's
that's
very
good.
intuitive. So I'm not using my head so much. I'm literally just noticing where I'm leaning toward. I'm leaning
I
in a certain
think
direction. And
that
then I'm
has
like
got to be
walking.
the key. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if we're like in our heads about it, you're like
Yeah.
blocking the flow of, information, whatever. But if you let your body guide you, you'll like feel guided to go in a certain direction and to like look in a certain area. And it's worked every freaking time that I've done it. And I was like, okay, I finally figured it out. Um, so sharing
I'm
that for
gonna
whoever
try
needs it.
that.
Yes.
Yes, I'm gonna try that. So I think that it's my theory, at least for myself, that that's why it's easier for me to help other people find things instead of my own
Yes.
things because I might get information, but then my logical brain comes in and that says no, that can't be right. That
Right.
like there's no way I put it there. Um, there's no way the keys are in the refrigerator. It just doesn't make sense, but they're in the refrigerator. Um,
There's the time though when I tested it out. That's so funny. I tested it out with I was looking for wrapping paper. That's what it was. And
mhm.
I could see the rolls of wrapping paper near the fridge. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
There's
Like,
no
why would
way.
they
Yeah.
be there? And so I go and look and I'm like, sea brain, they're not there. And then I tell my husband, like, that's what I was seeing, haha, but it's not there. He goes and looks, and sure enough, they were there. They were just like tucked more behind the fridge. I was like, what the heck?
Who put the wrapping paper by the
Like,
fridge?
like why? Why? That doesn't make any sense.
That's
That I
hilarious.
want to ask you, totally random, but what is your, like, do you have a story, like your craziest experience with either spirit or with like an angel, or I don't know, have you ever had an experience like that that
I,
really sticks out?
yeah, I don't know if I can pick a craziest, but the story that started it all for me was that summer that my mom died. I was going through a terrible divorce, and I had moved out of the house into an apartment and was having nightmares every night. Like I would wake up literally looking for a place to hide because my dreams would be so vivid and so real. And and once I was awake, I didn't want to close my eyes again because I didn't want to go back into that dream. And one night, the same thing happened. I remember the dream too. I He had was being sweet and he had coaxed me into a rowboat. Why a rowboat? I don't know, but he coaxed me into a rowboat. And once we were out in the middle of the ocean, he was going to kill me. And I had a choice to stay there and try to fight him or to jump out of the boat and risk, like it's a risk either way. How am I going to survive? So terrible, terrible nightmare. Woke up in a panic and I am just laying there with my eyes wide open and I felt something move on the end of my bed. And my dog at the time, who has since crossed over, um, she usually slept on the end of my bed. So I just thought she was like adjusting. And I felt it again a couple seconds later, and I was like, what is she doing? So I sat up to see what she was doing. The dog was not on the bed. She was on the floor, like totally passed out, ears flopped over, sawing logs. So she's not moving a muscle. And I just thought that was weird. Like I really hadn't had any experiences since childhood, so I did not immediately connect the dots to spirit. I laid back down on my side and I felt the bed move right in that curve, the curve of your torso, like someone was sitting on the bed next to me, and it went down. It didn't just move, it went down. And then I literally felt a physical hand on my forehead. I knew by the feeling, I knew immediately it was my mom. My eyes closed, I fell back asleep, and I never have had another nightmare since. So this was 10 years ago.
Oh
And
wow.
I woke up the next morning, and my first thought was, oh my God, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. This is bananas. Um, but I'm so thankful for that experience because it started opening the door. And my mom knew that if she just dropped little hints, that I wouldn't pick them up. She
Right.
had to do something extreme and something that impacted me so greatly. And obviously, that's what a mother wants to do, is take your child's nightmares away. But she had to, like, I had to feel the physical touch to know that it was her and to connect with her energy and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was her, and that I wasn't just imagining it. And that blew open the door. She would do extreme things for a while until I said, okay, I'm listening.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like spirit just working so hard to make sure we hear them and make sure we know
Hmm.
that they're there. I just love that. Thank you for sharing that. Um,
Yeah.
I could literally talk to you for hours. I'll have to have you on for a part two because
Our time has gone
seriously,
by so fast.
like literally so fast. Um, but I wanted to ask you, like, is there like a message you feel called to share with our listeners? And this isn't to put any pressure on you, but just,
Yeah.
sometimes like you could feel it on your heart, or it's something that's been like popping up for you recently, or maybe a theme that you've noticed in your readings. I don't know. But like, what do you feel called to share?
Yeah. Um, well, I'm gonna share two things. The
Okay.
collective message that I feel coming through is don't wait for the extremes to happen.
Mm,
If something is on your heart and you're feeling pulled to something, whether it's mediumship or anything spiritually or not, it is okay to explore. Don't let your own projections of what people will think stop you. And also, don't feel like you have to put it out, whatever the it is. Don't feel like you have to put it out there publicly yet. It's okay to explore. Um, but that when you said themes that come up in your readings, the last 2 weeks, it's come up over and over again in reading after reading. So I feel like it's worthy, especially with you saying that. I'm like, this needs to be heard. There are so many people, and recently they've all landed in the chair in my office who are harboring things against the person who has passed. And it's true that we have to let go of people who hurt us in our lives. Um, but once people cross over, everything just kind of dissolves. It's all love. They are not the same horrible, even evil being that they were on Earthside. And whatever they were playing out, whether it was for them or whether it was for you or both of you, which usually it's both, um, it's not there anymore. And that puts the ball back in our court of forgiveness. And even if you don't want to connect with that person spiritually, that's okay. But they might be coming through with a message that they love you or that they're sorry. And as a medium, that is the hardest message to deliver
oof,
because
yeah.
as a medium, you don't want to hurt the sitter. You don't
Mhm.
want to push them to forgive when they're not ready to forgive. Like it's kind of none of our business. We're just the messenger. But that's the thing. We are the messengers. We
Mhm.
work for the spirit world. So if that message is coming through, I have to deliver it to you. And it is on you to explore your own heart, whether you're ready or not. But this theme of forgiveness has been coming up over and over again. And it is just, it's been wild. I've been like, okay, spirit, is this like also for me? Because why are these people, landing in my room?
Mm-hmm. That's wild and such a beautiful, beautiful share. Like those messages, I can already feel it. Like someone needs to hear them. Even me, it makes me very emotional because I had that experience where someone who crossed over, I didn't want to hear from them.
Mhm.
I didn't want them to come through. We're both
Yeah.
part of like practice circles, right? And we
Yeah.
practice with other mediums. And I've always just set this firm boundary. Like, I do not want to hear from this person. They're not allowed in my home, like in spirit,
Yeah.
And there was um, this one practice I did where this person did come through the medium. And I was like, I have to
Yeah.
hear this out. I have to hear this
Yeah.
out and just see, is this the right moment where I'm meant to finally hear them out and forgive or whatever. And it
Yeah.
did lead, I'm so glad that I did hear them out, and it did lead to me finally feeling peace and forgiveness and
That's
acceptance.
awesome.
So like you said, it's the ball is in our court. Then what we're carrying
Mhm.
in our hearts, it's only going to weigh us down, right? Like
Yeah.
it's going to, so anyways,
Yeah.
Also, in the
And
readings I've been doing lately, forgiveness has
oh,
been coming up as a theme for
yeah.
sure. Oh, sorry. Oh,
Oh, no.
okay.
Forgiveness has been coming up as a theme for you too.
Yeah, yeah, in
That's
readings. A lot
wild.
of self-forgiveness though, like forgiving
Hmm.
yourself for, not doing the thing sooner, or forgiving yourself
Yeah.
for staying so long in a shitty situation and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just love that you shared that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage your listeners to, we all have those people. So if you have that person you don't want to hear from, you're not alone. As mediums, we have those people we don't want to hear from.
Yeah.
And it's part of our human experience, you
Yes.
know? Yeah.
Exactly. Being a medium doesn't make you this like holier than thou being, right?
Yeah.
Where you don't have things like that happening. And so, yeah, even as a medium, it was interesting navigating that experience of like, I know it would be good for me to forgive, but I'm not ready. And I'm kind of like bitter about it and whatever,
Yeah.
because of what that person caused when they were here,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
it's amazing how much lighter you feel when you are ready to kind of release that and forgive. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyways, again, I can talk to you for literally
I
ever.
know we could keep going.
But to before we wrap this up, can you share with my listeners how they can find you, how they can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is
Ooh.
santarosabeachmedium.com. I did that for the SEO and it's been fantastic. People are finding me on Google, but Santa Rosa Beach is where I live in Florida, and it's just santarosabeachmedium.com. Um, and I do virtual readings as well as in person. So this is a hot vacation spot. And I will do group readings for families or like girls' trips who come down as well. So it's fun. There's a lot of opportunity here.
I love that. I love that you offer in person as well, because not a lot of people do nowadays.
Yeah.
But I think I just like I love online as well, but I love having people in person,
Yeah.
and I love that you do group events too. That's amazing. So,
Yes, it's so fun.
and that's so smart, like to add the name of where you live in there. Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah,
That,
it's been great because I felt strongly that this was, as long as I came out of the closet with it, it was going to be spirit led, and the people who are meant to find me will find me.
yeah.
And that's exactly what has happened.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It is. It's
Again, I
how
can
you
go on.
know. Yeah, it's how you know you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Exactly. Because it just feels like it just flows and it just aligns and it just clicks. And yeah, it's the best feeling.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on
Thank
and
you,
sharing all of
Natasha.
this. Oh, I'm so
Yeah, it's been
grateful.
so fun.
And thank you to the listeners for, being part of this conversation and joining us. And if you have any questions, leave them in the question box or whatever on Spotify, or you can find us on our socials. Definitely go give Ginny a follow,
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you guys next week. Bye.